At the heart of Nissan's plan to dominate Group A sat a single engine, the RB26 DTT, a 2.6-liter, twin-turbocharged straight-six that would go on to become one of the most legendary engines in motorsport history. But before it earned that legendary status, it was, above everything else, a calculated answer to a mathematical problem. Group A racing didn't compare engines by raw displacement alone. It used a turbo-equivalency formula, a multiplier applied to a turbocharged engine's actual displacement, designed to let smaller forced induction engines compete fairly against larger naturally aspirated ones. Nissan's engineers treated that formula less like a constraint and more like an equation to be solved. They selected 2.6 liters specifically, because when run through Group A's equivalency math, it landed the RB26 at exactly 4.3 liters of effective displacement, precisely the sweet spot the category's rules allowed, without pushing into a heavier weight class or losing any competitive edge to the formula itself. In race trim, the RB26 DTT produced well in excess of 550 horsepower, some estimates placing it beyond 600, a genuinely enormous output for an engine this size in this era. That power came from a straight-six configuration with twin turbochargers, a layout that offered smoother, more linear power delivery than a V-configuration engine, an important factor for consistent, predictable handling across a full race distance, not just outright peak output on a dyno sheet. There was a trade-off buried inside that engine choice, one that Nissan's own race team, run by Fred Gibson, noticed almost immediately. A straight-six is a physically long engine, and fitting one into the R32's engine bay meant it hung out over the front subframe, pushing significant weight toward the front of the car. Gibson himself later admitted he'd expected something more compact, a V6 twin-turbo, and was surprised when a long straight-six arrived instead, noting that a more compact engine layout might have made the car an even more dominant rocket ship. Even with that inherent weight distribution challenge, the raw power and smoothness of the RB26 DTT still proved to be an overwhelming advantage against Group A's rear-wheel drive rivals. Before the RB26 DTT ever raced a lap of Group A competition, Nissan sent the car to Germany for a very public statement. At the Nürburgring, the R32 GTR shattered the Porsche 944 Turbo's existing lap record for production-based cars by a massive 22 seconds, an almost unheard-of margin in lap time terms. It was a clear signal, delivered before the car had even entered its first official race, that this engine and this chassis combination had been built to operate in a completely different performance category than anything Group A had faced before. The RB26's legacy would extend far beyond this single era of touring car racing. The same engine, refined and improved, would go on to power the R33 Skyline GTR in 1995 and the R34 in 1999. Becoming one of the most respected and heavily tuned engines in automotive history. But its reputation was built here first, in Group A racing, as the engine mathematically engineered to exploit a rulebook that had never faced anything quite this calculated before.